there's things I didn't know that are awesome that I know now. It has skilled me up way more than I thought it would.
If any of you have guessed, we're going to do a follow up from the original video, which was 6 weeks into the cohort. We're way past 6 weeks. You've completed the program. We've gone on and we'll talk about that a little bit. So, yeah, this is just going to be a follow up video to kind of get you all's feedback and then share your thoughts on how Cloud Code Academy went and see kind of where you are now. It's definitely been like 6 months. I guess for anybody that doesn't know, that didn't watch the original video, one, check that out. But two, Janet and Hillary, I guess you all can figure out how you start off, but kind of give a little introduction. Tell us about like your current job title and maybe your experience in Salesforce.
So it's good to be back for the follow-up. I'm Hillary. I work for a company called Calix, where I am the Salesforce and Business Administration lead. So I lead now a team of 5 Salesforce admins. So that's probably different from the last time that we spoke. I lead a team of 5 admins. We have a big enterprise org. Our hands are in a lot of different issues. We get to see a lot of different things, work in a lot of different Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, a lot of integrations. It's good fun.
Jen, hi. I am currently working for Arcus. I am a Salesforce implementation consultant. I work in a lot of different clouds, but I am a subject matter expert in Experience Cloud.
I don't think we were quite done yet with Cloud Code, and there was a role change. I was able to apply for and get a promotion, which was very exciting. It was an opportunity to lead a team, which I think is super important and an amazing opportunity. We'll probably touch on it a little bit more, like when we talk about, Cloud Code and the impact that it can have for you. It also, I think it shows that you can go in many different directions. That's definitely been an update for me. Passing PD1 was a great milestone.
Nice.
So that was super exciting, something that was on my bucket list. Then going and getting advanced admin too, a fun little bonus.
Stacking them up.
Yeah, and it's funny now. It's like I kind of see how and why people do it. Like you get one and then you realize that you're halfway to the next one and you just kind of keep going. And I think at one point in the past, I told myself like, okay, like if I got like admin and platform app builder and PD1 and advanced, that's it. I'm done. I don't need to take any more certs ever again. But now I'm just like, that UX designer looks really good. And like, Service Cloud, I'm halfway there, right? So it's, I guess maybe you got a little bit of the cert bug.
Awesome. Jen, I think you have definitely, what is it, like doubled the amount of certifications that you have? So
I think I tripled. Yeah. So what happened was I initially, at the time I started the class, I said, I want to do Sales Cloud. And the class was very busy and I didn't have time, but I was doing, getting ready to do the PD1 and learning everything. I got real excited when we got into Lightning Web Components. I got really into that and the Visual Force pages. Then I decided to take my PD1. During the same time, my work did Certimber. That means see how many you could try for. That didn't mean you have to get them, but just to see how many you could try for. PD1 was one of them. And I had 7 I signed up for in 1 month. And I thought, I'm not going to get these. Well, I got my PD1. And actually, ended up with 6 certifications because of Cloud Code Academy, because I did Service Cloud, Sales Cloud, Advanced Admin. I did a whole bunch. And there was so much crossover. Like, I could not believe all the crossover there was from the Cloud Code Academy course. There was enough that I did get a bunch. In fact, I was shocked. I went into them and I was like, I'm just going to take them. And then I'd come out and go, I just passed. And I would go to the next one. And I did it all in a very short period of time, but it all applied. And I don't think I could have gotten any of them without the Cloud Code Academy because there was a lot of crossover.
That is one really great to hear. It's kind of a testament to development, right? Like you're able to learn so many different, like it's one foundational skill set that you learn that can then apply to so many different areas. So it really helps you out and helps you think differently when you're looking at Service Cloud and advanced admin and any of the certs that you take, because you're able to
Mhm.
put pieces together in different ways and like even just help you like pick through certain things like, oh, that doesn't sound right, or I saw this error in code, or I saw this particular thing, and it kind of connects the dots a little bit more. And or at least for me personally, that's what I've seen.
No, that's exactly what it was. In fact, when I look back at my original admin test, I passed it, but I don't know that I knew the concepts as well. So when I went into this, I actually understood more of the questions and was able just to make those connections, and it was huge, big difference for me.
Yeah, I echo that too. Like for the advanced admin, there was definitely a lot of questions that I was like easy, like process of elimination or just easy, like, oh yeah, that's the answer. Almost to the point where I had to stop myself and like, am I
Am I doing
really?
this too
Okay.
fast?
Yeah, am I doing this too fast? Yeah. But it is exactly that, so many of the concepts we learned and like really like all that hands-on, like being in an org, breaking your code, learning, like having that developer mindset, I think has really, really, really made a difference, not just for like PD1, but just in general.
Yeah, I think at my work, so at my 6 week check in with you, I was talking about how excited I was because I knew how to read those big red error codes that you get, and before I'd have to go to a developer, then I could read them. But even more since then is there's so much more I understand that I don't even have to go to the developers anymore unless I need something major custom done that we pay them to do. But there's a ton that I can do that I understand that I'm skipping. And now I'm having coworkers ask me to help because I know how to look at code. I can look. Recently, we had an org that we were with a client, and we needed to know a little bit more about the Lightning Web components that were in the org. Unfortunately, they couldn't give us access at the time, but we did like a reverse demo where they walked us through. And as soon as I saw Lightning component, I started asking questions. The owner said, somebody else did that. I don't know. I had him go into the dev console. I found the component and each of the files, like there's an XML file, there's the Java, the HTML, and the CSS. I had him go into each files, and I was able to look through the code to tell our developers, was it written by best practices? Was it something we could go and modify? Was it clean code, basically? And I could totally tell they used the SLDS design system. The code was very, very clean. So when we scoped it, I didn't have to bring the developers in to sit there and go do the same thing I just did. I was able to scope it, and I knew how many hours it was going to take to go in and modify those LWCs. That was huge. That was huge. It saved us a lot of hours to be able to do that.
Yeah, it definitely increases your efficiency, right? You're just unlocking
Mm-hmm.
so many different avenues, specifically on the consulting side, right? You
Mm-hmm.
don't need the extra people, the extra bodies, because you're a more, I guess, versatile individual, right? You just know different things. Even if you're potentially not the person doing the work, you're able to talk more confidently about it.
And you're the liaison because developers, they speak one way, people that don't know developing speak another, and it's very difficult to communicate. And I've been able to step in between and be the liaison to another consultant to say, I want to do this. They can't articulate it, and I'm like, okay, I can write the user story and I can be very precise, get it over to them.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a huge skill. Something that's rarely talked about is that communication between the
Yeah.
different parties and being that like liaison, that central person. I've found myself in that role quite often. One, because I like all facets of Salesforce, right? The administrative, the architect, the development side, making sure that we're communicating across the board and all the different individual languages that everybody speaks, right? So whenever I see somebody kind of like working on that skill or cultivating that skill, it can take you a very long way, right? It's a great skill to have because not everybody has that like touch or has that. Some part of it is patience too, and then some part of it is knowledge as well, right? It's some professionals in the Salesforce ecosystem, they generally like they want to either be just the best coder or just the best person with flows, and that's fine. But when you can bring everything together, marry it all up, and then communicate it to the business, to the technical people, to the non-technical people, it is a huge skill to have.
And I know, Hillary, you had the same experience because you were telling me about a DML error the other day and how you were able to look at it and know without having to involve the dev team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you're talking about is it's hugely important, and it is definitely an underappreciated skill, maybe.
Mhm.
But I think even just like doing cloud code and being able to have the confidence to approach your dev team to be like, hey, I think this is a problem, and I think this is what it is, and not just come up and say like, hey, there's an error.
It's broken. It's like,
It's
oh.
broken. Like you have like a specific like, hey, I saw this error, or I'm experiencing this particular behavior. So we had a flow that was acting weird. It was acting wonky. I didn't have the flow error logs right in front of me. And I'm looking at it. Different people are trying it. It's breaking in different, it's breaking for some people, but not other people. I think this is a mixed DML error because we're working on a contact and a user. And like, so then sure enough, we found, we got the, flow error logs and was able to like, okay, hey, dev team, like this flow is having a mixed DML error, and giving them a jump off point, right? Just being able to like have the confidence to like bring it
Bring
up.
that up.
Yeah.
There are so many people that don't even know what mixed DML errors are, and I know when we were going through those homeworks, right, and bringing that up and talking about it, some people, I won't say that you were mad. I'm sure it was frustrating at the time for you two and for everybody going through the program, but it does pay off in those situations, right, where now you know something that can help you solve a specific problem, and it's a weird one too. That
Yeah.
if you haven't seen it before, you could spend hours, days, weeks trying to figure it out.
It's hard to troubleshoot because sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
intermittent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the nature of it. So, we do a lot of troubleshooting in my role. It's a lot of help desk, a lot of troubleshooting, like anomalous errors, strange behaviors. And so even just having that mindset, or being able to, stop and look at things in terms of like on the dev side is super helpful. Being able to like run a SQL query, like just pull
Yeah.
it up, right? Like it's
Who needs reports anymore? And you
I
can just
on
run queries.
well, for things like data loader, right? Why am I going to run a report to export the report to reformat the report? Like I can write a query for that. Just export it. Done.
But I also like the fun side, which for me was the LWCs, because now I built some, and occasionally I go in and I build them more, and I put them on my own portfolio, and they're just kind of fun to show. Yeah, I can do it. It doesn't mean I'm going to do them every day, but I know the concepts and I'm able to show that I know those concepts, because it does go a long way, especially when you work in Experience Cloud, because that's what we're working with is LWCs, whether it's already in there from Salesforce creating them, or we need help making them. I know how to scope for them. I know what it takes and if it's possible. Like sometimes the clients will ask for things, and I don't know, it might be so over the moon that you're like, oh, we can't do that. Well, I know if we can, but it's going to cost you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know those limitations, but they're fun too for me.
I was gonna say that's an interesting point because I've experienced that too, where it's almost allowed me to like be easier to identify the limits of Salesforce, right? That somebody's making a request and I'm like, we can't do that, man. Like, like
Mm,
I don't think so.
how much time do you really want to spend?
Right. Well, it's almost like instead of going down the rabbit hole, you kind of know off the top of your head, like, I don't think so. Or if you can, man, you better like buckle in because it's going to be a while.
That reminds me, today it came up. I've got someone writing a flow. I'm project manager. Let's give you some context. I assigned it out to a technical resource to write this flow. We're looking at like 10,000 and something records, and we're trying to, in the flow, they're querying them. He brought something up, and I said, well, let me think for a minute, because I have to make sure we're not going to hit an error for, well, first of all, for too many queries or for pulling up too many rows. And I was going, was it 10,000 rows or was it 50,000? I had to think of it. It was just one query, so I knew we were okay because it didn't hit the 100, or if you did it async, 200. But I had to look it up, but I knew exactly what to type into Google. What is my limit of rows in a query? And it was 50,000. I'm like, cool, we only have 10,000 records. That's not going to go above that, so I know we're okay. But I couldn't remember if it was 10,000. Then I was like, well, if it's 10,001, then we're stuck. But I immediately was like, yep, we can move on with this flow. Go ahead, instead of running into those errors.
Yeah, that's really fun too. I know for the exam, like two things I'm thinking about with this. For the exam, right, you have to like memorize those numbers. Oh, it's 50,000, and they'll try to do like gotchas with that. But when you're in real life, right, you could just, as long as you know it exists, you can just Google for it, right? Or look it up in documentation. So I think that is something to take note of, right? Even myself, I don't memorize a lot of those limits. I can go and look it up, but knowing is half the battle. Knowing is half the battle, right?
Googling is a skill. Yeah.
Googling
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
skill.
If I hadn't known and we hit the limit, it would have, I mean, we would have been far into the project before we realized what was happening, because it wouldn't always happen, because you wouldn't always need that many records. And so I was really glad that I had a moment to stop and think about it, go look it up, and then say, yeah, we can keep going. This is going to work.
Big scale for me. I wanted to just increase my knowledge, get a better, more well-rounded understanding of Salesforce, and not just declarative, what I could see, but I wanted to see under the hood. I wanted, even if it didn't mean going in there and doing it every day, I knew that there was value in knowing how it works and being able to talk the talk and have a seat at the table. Like, if I had to sit down with a developer and being able to explain what I'm looking for, what I want, what's broken, etc., right? So that was kind of like big scale goal. I mean, small scale, I guess I really like PD1 was always on my bucket list, even though it's just just an exam. It's, it's just a thing, but it was on my bucket list. Personal development, I guess, would be the formal answer.
So mine wasn't as grand. All I wanted to do was learn how to write Lightning Web Components. What I got out of it was way more, way more. Yes, I learned to do that, but the value of everything we were talking about being able to communicate with the developers, to be able to look at code, to be able to know code a little better, where you could see the limits, where you could learn the limits of like the SQL queries and what you're doing, and what's going to break Salesforce and what's not going to break Salesforce, for me was huge, just having that knowledge. And it was almost like what you don't know, right? There's things I didn't know that are awesome that I know now. For me, it has just skilled me up quite a bit. Like, I don't know, I couldn't even put a number on it, but it has skilled me up way more than I thought it would. And the PD1, I don't know if that wasn't really on my bucket list. I was like, yeah, maybe I did it, like I'm so excited. That test was so hard.
It is
I had
very hard.
no idea how difficult that was, but really, I feel like I just got a ton more out of it than I really imagined. I was like, I'll just get this one little thing. This will be fun. I work in Experience Cloud. And then I just blew up in this massive, this is amazing. This is awesome. Look how much I know.
Yeah, the door really opens up once you get past those. There's definitely a beginning hurdle, right? But as soon as you get past it, kind of stick with it, start to build on top of everything. I've seen, and it sounds like you two have experienced it as well, the door kind of opens up to so many different possibilities just from understanding development. And for me, that's why I created the program and made it so open, right? I didn't want to scare anybody away from starting to learn development by putting prerequisites and putting any additional tests that people needed to take. It's like, if you're interested, you want to learn, come on in. I'll teach you from the beginning, and we'll take this journey together, whether it takes 4 weeks, 6 weeks, a year, right? Like, let's figure it out together as we're going on, because everybody's not gonna, it's just tough stuff. So I don't think everybody's going to pick it up at the same time, or at the same pace, and that's okay. But that you still have that option to get help, get support, get feedback. You're getting hands-on. And that's the biggest thing for me, is seeing those people that said, oh, I didn't think I could do it, or it wasn't, I just wanted to learn it a little bit, kind of stuff. And then the doors open up and you're able to write your own components and talk with different people and understand this stuff. I think that's, for me, is the coolest part of this.
Well, and for me, what was really key is having live classes.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Totally.
if I have something self-paced, life gets in the way and I let it get in the way. But I was really motivated. I was like, okay, I'm very goal-oriented. Actually, Hillary and I signed up together. And so it was kind of like we were kind of pushing each other. But having the live classes was huge for me. I don't think that just self-paced with written material is helpful. I mean, just not for my learning style, I should say. It's nice to have it in addition, but to have where someone's there where you can just ask a question. And also the Slack channel. So as you've created more cohorts, it's gotten bigger, and I've just been reading what other people say. It's really interesting the takes they have. They've kind of brought new things to my mind. I've made a lot more connections. And not that you have to make connections, but it's really cool when you have people in the same interest. So just watching that Slack channel, I loved what we had just in cohort one, made some great connections. But then as it has expanded, and there's more channels, and just everybody helping each other out in the space is just fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, it's super cool. I'm with you on that. And I love your point, Jen, too, where it's like I feel like it was more than just Apex. And I think that's one thing that really like stood out for me is that the course is more than just, hey, here's some Apex, go have fun. And it really comes to life when you have that live instructor, and it comes to life when you have that opportunity to really put the pieces together. And it's not just like, this is a variable and this is a loop. Here's a practice,
Yeah.
Sure. But it's just like, what does it mean? What does it do? Like, how do we use it? What's the application? Like, let's break it. Let's, and it really like it came to life. Like I've taken other like Apex courses, right? That were a little bit, like Jen said, kind of asynchronous. Like you follow along or you watch a video, and it's okay. And I think for some people that is a totally valid like style for them. It doesn't work for my learning style. I need a little bit more structure than that. I found that that's what I really appreciated too, was like how it came to life. And there was this community and stuff that was a huge bonus, because it gets lonely. It's just you coding in a, asynchronous listening to a video. I broke my code. Now I can't do anything.
And when you can talk to other people about it, it gives you confidence. Because then I went to Cactus Force. So I finished the program November, December, got my PD1 in December. January, I go to Cactus Force. I was really nervous because it is a developer conference, but man, was it awesome. Like, I was like, these are my people. We understand each other. We talk to each other. It was the best, I thought. And I learned a ton, and I understood it. So that was pretty awesome.
Hearing that you have gone to Cactus Force, did you do anything else at Cactus Force? Like,
I actually didn't know what to expect. I've thought about Forward, another conference, a developer conference. Maybe you would be interested in this. But Hillary and I have talked about having one to show people that there's this adminveloper, right? Or adminveloper side, that once you know that, you've kind of morphed into this whole new thing. You're not a developer, and you're not just an admin. You're a mixture of both, and the value that can bring. I think that bringing that to a conference, because there were a lot of people at Cactus Force that were not developers. I don't know if they knew where to fit. They wanted to get there, they just didn't know how. But having a class to present, this is what the value is, and here's how to get it, I think would be amazing.
There is this kind of like new professional coming out of this amalgamation of, you have these configuration, declarative, administrative skills, and then you also have these programmatic, development skills, and you're bringing those together to kind of form a new role, or being even more of a jack of all trades, right? Because traditionally, even though you're a jack of all trades, we're kind of like siloed in only doing like configuration or only doing development. But now it doesn't matter, because you understand it all. You can pick up any type of problems, tickets, anything like that you want, because of this understanding that you've built out of, learning the development side as well. So I think that is very cool and interesting for a lot of people who are potentially watching this from the admin side and saying like, is it worth learning? Or, I'm kind of happy where I'm at, but it's like, you don't know what you don't know. And then as soon as you walk through that door, you learn some of the development skills, you then start to see everything else in a different light.
It's like in the Matrix when he starts seeing all the numbers and it opens up. That has been,
I love that.
It's very Matrixy. I'm just seeing everything, seeing so much, and I like it. In fact, the class was probably more valuable than any college course I've ever taken in my life. It was harder. It involved more time. I mean, if we're going to be honest, it was a very time-consuming thing. But it was in math. And
Math is hard.
I guess for some people, I mean, for me, I enjoy it, which is, I think, why I wanted to look at the code, because I was like, that's kind of like math. It's a set, it has rules, and I liked it. But it is honestly harder than any class I've ever taken, but has become the most valuable class I've taken.
First of all, I think if you're thinking about it, do it. It's an investment in yourself. You know, if nothing else, and like you will get a return on your investment. You invest in yourself, you invest in this like continuous learning, shows your commitment. It sets you apart from your colleagues if you want to get real talk, right? It sets you apart as somebody that has this kind of, you know, we're talking about it, right? This kind of elevated knowledge beyond just an admin, but it does come with the warning of it being hard. It doesn't come easy. There's a reason developers get paid really well. There's a reason why not everybody gets into development. It's hard. The learning curve is hard. So it takes a commitment from yourself, from your partner, from in your life. Like, you know, look and see if it's the right time for you. Sometimes you know, you really want to do it and it's just life happens. It's not the right time, but it is a big time commitment. That's probably the biggest downside, I guess, is that if you really want to engage in it and really want to take the most you can out of it and be involved in the community and, you know, attend the classes, or shortly after they are, you know, the recording goes out, like, you know, and if you want to keep pace and do the homeworks, it's hard.
I pretty much echo everything you said. The first thing I thought is just do it. If you're even thinking about it, just do it, but make sure you time it right. I've met several people who've been interested but had to put it off, and then now they're at the right time, so they're in one of your more recent cohorts. But you got to have commitment from your family, because it's a lot of work and a lot of focus. You know, you might just if you're like me, you shut your laptop at the end of the day from work and you open up your laptop and you're doing it for the next 5 or 6 hours. And then I was doing it all weekend just to get through the homework. I felt like I was barely scraping by at times. And then there was one week where we had like a break and I was like, oh my gosh, thank you.
Yes,
But
keep the break in there, Warren, please. Like,
keep the break.
don't ever get rid of the break. Yeah.
Yeah, but understand the time commitment. And it's not just time, it's I don't have little kids at home, but my husband had to really be on board with me being focused on something completely outside of our norm. Like, I'm not gonna, if he wants to go on a date together, sorry, we're not gonna date for the next 4 months because I am too busy, you know. But just having that commitment, and I think I said this in the first video, I told myself it's only 4 months. So when I'm 3 weeks in and I feel like I'm struggling, I'm like, it's only, you know, 3 months and a week left. I just kept telling myself it's only. And then it just like seemed like I got there all of a sudden. I'm like, oh my gosh, can I believe I just did this? So yes, the time commitment and the commitment from your family that your focus is going to be somewhere else is a big deal. But if you're thinking about it, just do it. There's no other way. Don't tippy toe. Just do it. You know, you'll learn a lot about yourself. I actually wasn't sure when we started this. I was like, do I want to be a developer? Well, I don't know, maybe, because I like math and it's like that to me. But I decided, no, I don't want to be a developer, but I love having the knowledge and I like being the in-between and having the extra, you know, just a little bit extra, a lot extra, actually.
That is great advice, and I think it is important for people to know as they're like considering joining and all of that stuff. I will say, you do know me, right? I like to make adjustments as we go along inside of the cohort. So the rigor is still there. I think there are some areas where we have adjusted to make it more palatable for everybody. I'll just say it that way. But yeah, we want to keep that rigor. The core of it is still there. We don't want it to be impossible. We don't want it to be brutal. It is not crushing, right? Yeah, accessible. I like that word too. It is accessible for the people who are trying to go through this. And of course, you know, everything is recorded and you can go through and get your feedback at any time, but just making sure, like, you know, the people that go through it, get it done, become alumni, especially in that like 16-week time frame, they have accomplished something. And for you all, I think it is a huge accomplishment, especially to go through me as your teacher, right?
I like the way we did it. You know
Mm-hmm.
what? That shaped me, right? That shaped me the way I needed it. So it was good for me.
I love that you did keep it accessible and that you kept it at like people that didn't have any knowledge or limited knowledge of Apex and coding. I think it's so important that it wasn't like you created this course to gatekeep people. It was very accessible. You've always been super accessible. And same with, Chase. And now we have other experienced, devs in the channel as well. Tony and Kayla and Brooks is on there now. And there's all,
Drugs.
yeah, Chase. And there's all kinds of people on there that are, there to support you, to answer questions, but also just being that supportive voice and like someone to celebrate with you. And I think that's so important when you're on this journey, to know that there are people that are genuinely rooting for you and that they got no skin in the game. They just really want to see you succeed. And that's an amazing feeling.
That was by far my favorite part because I had learned it and I could do it. And the confidence. And then it was fun because there were three of us that chose to be on the project together. And we got to pick what we were good at and what we liked. It's not like you're in a job and you're forced to do something that you're just like, I really didn't like that part. It was nerve-wracking presenting it because I didn't know what to expect. But the building, absolutely loved it. I could do it at the pace that I wanted to do.
Yeah, it was fun. And it was great to work with Jen. I feel like we've been friends for a long time, but we've never actually like worked on a project together. So
That'll
it
make
was
or break a friendship.
totally like it was great. And I think we worked really well together. And we had another, a third person on our team also that we worked really well with. We had it really well organized in Jira. We had good communication with each other. I got to know Jason very intimately, which was, I never knew I needed to know so much about parsing, but it was really fun to see Jen really take hold of like an LWC and really run with that, aspect of the project. I ended up doing the integration and a lot of the triggers. Actually, I think I did like 3 or 4 of the triggers. I was nervous about doing the integration, and it was kind of one of those last big pieces that was on our Jira board. I took it because I didn't know and I wasn't comfortable doing it, so I took it.
And I think that's fun, right? It's you're taking a leap from that standpoint to fill out an area which you're not as confident on. And then I'm wondering now, like as you've gone through it, are you more confident now in integrations? I mean, you at least had to build one out.
I mean, I'm friends with Jason now, so.
We'll leave it at that. So
No,
yeah.
I think it was great, and I think one of those like kind of like aha moments was like I got the integration to work, the call out was working, and then I was like, the hell do I do now? You know what I mean? And so it's really like Jen was saying, where it's like you have to put it all together, right? And we did, a mix of declarative and programmatic solutions. So we did programmatic solutions for the requirements that required programmatic solutions, but Jen built a one flow for something. So I like that we had the freedom to kind of create our own data model as well, which is a real world skill, right? Like you need to understand like, okay, you're pulling in all this data. Fabulous. But now what? What are you going to do with it? Where are you going to put it? How are you going to store it? What's it going to look like? What are you going to do? And so that was a really interesting kind of, and I think that's super valuable, like putting things together, like even as you talk about, like as a consultant, building out requirements. Okay, the client may want the world. What are you going to do with it? And then so, getting to collaborate with your team and like flesh out that data model and flesh out what we're going to do with it. And then how those triggers are going to work with that data that comes in. I think I did relish a little bit in the opportunity to be grilled by Chase. I didn't mind. I thought I have never had to do a code review with Chase. And he's somebody that, I've known through like Salesforce Mentor, but it was also interesting to have like that third party come out and ask a hard question and look at the code and be like, so what's your admin going to do with your code? Be like, nothing, because that's a real question, right? That you would get from a client or whatever. Like, how's my admin going to, maintain this
Interact
code?
with this. Yeah. Yeah.
They can't, like it was a really good kind of holistic, like well-rounded experience.
Yeah, and to see, I mean, I didn't do the integration like you did, but to watch it and then you were explaining it to me and I was like, oh, I'm glad I'm not doing that. But then to see it all come together, all the pieces that we put it together where somebody could actually use it. So yes, it's code. The admin's not going to touch it, but it was usable on the Salesforce interface and it had a purpose and it worked. It worked.
I love the capstone project because of that. It opens up a ton of like creativity and opportunity for all of the different teams as they're working either together or alone. I do recommend, as you all did, working as a team, and then doing the presentation aspect of things, because a lot of devs feel like they can kind of get away with, not needing to either talk with other people or present their code or explain the things that they build out. And I would say, like, gone are those days, right? A lot of devs need to be more communicative in the things that they are building out, especially if you want to hit those like higher levels of being a developer or being a professional as well, like being able to present your solutions, right? So that's why that's baked in there. And I think you guys did an amazing job with everything that you built out. It was super great to see your capstone project come together. And I was proud of like just everything you all have built, because it shows that the process does kind of work, right? Taking you from not knowing anything, or you maybe know variables, or you've dabbled around in HTML before, but being able to go from like basic starting point to then building a huge application that can be used is definitely an accomplishment. And you, both of you and your whole team, should be proud of it. I know we've talked about it before, but it was a great job. But if you want to give anybody any shout outs, spouses, friends, people in the community, anybody that has helped out.
Last time, yes, we did thank our family when we were in the thick of it. We were like, thank you for bringing me food or something. But now that we're done, really kudos goes to you, and now all the new people joining that are accessible, because you guys do cheer for us. Like, we've been done with the course for a while, but you still, we still chat. We can still, message you in the Slack or on LinkedIn. You're very active. I'm active on LinkedIn. You're always supporting my content. And Chase and the people that we've run into, there is a lot of support and a lot of cheering on, like, to keep going. Like you're like, hey, anybody looking for a junior dev role? I saw this. You're always encouraging everybody to be better, and no matter what we're doing, right? Not everybody's got their PD1 from the course. That's okay. We can still encourage them. We can still cheer them on, and you're very, very good at that.
I think the community is slowly but surely becoming the superpower of Cloud Code Academy, right? Because of that network that we're building out and the type of environment that we're fostering, right? Making sure that it's accessible to everybody. There's no gatekeeping, and we know that everybody can learn this stuff. You have to put in the time. It is work, but everybody can learn this stuff, and we'll give back as much as you put into it, right? So if you're ready to go, I will feed you development and code until it's popping out of your ears, right? So from that standpoint, I think the community is super great, and our networks are just growing larger with the different instructors that we're bringing in, the different types of learners that we're bringing in. Like, some people are super experienced, right? Like, even look at Tom or Neil coming in and like blazing through the program, but they just want to get either that. They have their own goals in joining. They're there for specific reasons, and then helping build out the community in their own ways, right? So even you two are doing that as well, being so helpful and talking to different people. It's been just amazing to see it grow, and hasn't even been a year yet. So,
but you cultivated that. You started that because people mimic their leaders or mentors or whatever you want to call them. You cultivated that, and that has continued. So kudos to you for sure.